Oh dear, it's the farmers again. Yes, we're talking about the Maine farmers and the protest they did the previous week. And there was a lot to be said in the internet, and today is gonna be an interesting debate and people trying to see how the relationship between the tariffs and the farmers, like the farmers need help, but they can't go about their day-to-day activities because of the tariffs imposed and the taxes, and everything is just going high and high. The farm supplies, labor, deportation affecting labor, the Chinese tariffs, like Chinese diverting their suppliers like from the US to countries like Brazil and Canada and things like that. Definitely is gonna affect farmers. So let's try now see what's gonna transpire in this debate.
Oh, I'm a soybean farmer that voted for Trump, and I'm begging him to stop this trade war. Oh, look at you. You're so different. You're so strong. You're so brave. See, you're like a 10th generation soybean farmer, and apparently the president of the American Soybean Farmers Association. You know that last time he was in office, soybean farmers lost $20 billion because of his tariffs. And our tax money had to bail you out. And you voted for him again, and now you're like, oh, I'm begging him, please stop. This was in Project 2025. Hello. So tired of you people. I saw a video of the cheese lady, the cheese slice lady. I saw a video of her at a store pointing to cheese and saying, haha, see, some of us can laugh at ourselves. You, right? Glaring red flags. You ignored all of it, and now you're like, I'm a soybean farmer and I'm begging him, please stop doing exactly what you said you were gonna do. Oh, I'm the cheese lady. See, I can laugh at myself. Obviously, I got tricked, but I can laugh at myself. There are people whose lives have truly been impacted by his whims. Cheese lady, we don't need you to laugh at yourself. We need you to apologize. You know what, soybean farmer? We need you to say, I am such an asshole. It was crystal clear. He said, I'm going to do this to you. Now I'm like, apologize to the whole country.
Maine farmers are fed up with the Trump administration and went to Augusta on Wednesday to protest the funding cuts and unpredictability that his USDA is causing for these farms. 150 farmers and supporters protested outside the state capitol, driving tractors and livestock trailers and carrying signs to draw attention to how President Trump is hurting Maine farms. We've told you before about how Trump's USDA has broken signed contracts that it had with farmers across the country, leaving those farms on the hook for thousands, often tens of thousands of dollars in costs that were supposed to be reimbursed. We've also told you about how the Trump USDA shut down the programs that helped Maine schools and food banks purchase food from local farmers. A lot of Maine farms were already struggling. These cuts from the Trump administration are making it harder for them to survive. A farmer from Monmouth who attended the protests asked, who is this working for? Not working people, not farmers.
Farmers are about to get hit with some very difficult times, and according to an article I just read, it's because of Donald Trump's tariffs. Or is it? It's not. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump's tariffs. Tariffs are making America great again, and unfortunately, there's a reoccurring trend with farmers where they're always needing some sort of government assistance. In 2020, $2.2 trillion was given to farmers by the Biden-Harris administration. In 2022, guess what happened? 48,000 farmers needed more government assistance. So now, fast forward to today, 2025, the government needs to help out farmers. Guess who's going to be to blame? Donald Trump. Doesn't make any sense. You know what other president actually had to help out farmers financially? Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden, Trump, twice. This is going to be a second time. If anyone's actually helping the farmers, it's Donald Trump. It's MAGA. We're truly making America great again. Trust me, guys. Trust the process. There's a reason why 7 out of 7 swing states voted for Donald Trump. He knows what he's doing, and obviously the Democrats don't.
I need all the farmers for Trump to come to the front of the class, because I hear you're asking the rest of us for money because Donald Trump's tariffs are going to financially ruin you. And what's so funny about that is, didn't Donald Trump and his tariffs bring you to the brink last time? Because he got you into a trade war with China. And now China is basically cutting off corn, soy, all agricultural products, and they're looking to other places like Canada, Brazil, anywhere else they can get agricultural products, and U.S. farmers are the ones left holding the bag. There's a soybean farmer that's been making the rounds here, and he's saying, I voted for Donald Trump 3 times, and I was glad to, and I like his policies, but these tariffs are hurting us, and I need you to stop this, Mr. President. And they're asking us for another bailout, the taxpayers, another bailout because they decided to vote for Donald Trump for a third time. That's a around and find out, my friends. And I'm not here to help financially support these people. They want to bitch and moan, all these people on the right, about people being on welfare and people needing handouts. And well, farmers, wear those bootstraps that you guys like to talk about all the time. Why don't you find them and pull yourselves up from them? Because we are tired of bailing you out. I understand that if you don't get bailed out and these tariffs ruin you guys, it's going to have a huge impact on the rest of us. But I knew that before the election. I knew that when I was stumping for Kamala Harris and telling people not to vote for Donald Trump. So you're around and find out. I hope it's a little more personal because you guys decided to continue to vote against your own interest and cut off your nose to spite your face. It's time you sit in it for a minute.
Did y'all hear what Maine's farmers did last week? Suffice it to say, they are pissed and they are not taking what the Trump regime is doing lying down. Here's a little clip from in front of the Maine State House in Augusta, Maine on April 16th. Kevin Miller from Maine Public Radio covered the event. The title of his article is Maine Farmers Call on USDA to Restore Funds and Staff. Farmers rallied in Augusta Wednesday to protest funding cuts, contract suspensions, and staff layoffs at the USDA that they say threaten the livelihood of Maine's small farms. The event came just days after the Trump administration regime canceled another program that was slated to provide millions of dollars to help make Maine farms more resilient to the changing climate. Now, I reported on this quite a while ago. Conservative farmers all across America are facing the loss of grants and funding that were not necessarily coming from places that you would expect from the Department of Energy, for example. All kinds of grants that help make their farms more resilient, more environmentally responsible, and provided lots of funding for infrastructure and operations that they really need. And they didn't think that when Trump talked about gutting the federal government that he was going to cut off the funding to them. And farmers all across this country, especially small farms, are hurting really bad as a result. And we could talk about how that's part of Trump's plan to put small family farms out of business so they sell their land to mega corporations, because that absolutely is part of the plan. But I want to get back to the article here. The rally began with a rare sight, at least for Augusta. More than a dozen tractors of all sizes, ages, plus other farm vehicles were rumbling down the streets surrounding the Maine State House. Rally goers then gathered outside of the building to hear from farmers upset about the recent changes as part of President Trump's cost-cutting and reprioritizing.
You know, this idiot has only been in office for 2 months, and already the Trump administration is considering massive bailouts for farmers who are being crushed by Trump's tariffs. You know, this happened in his first term. Trump put massive tariffs on China, and they responded with retaliatory tariffs on American products. American farmers lost billions, and the American taxpayer had to bail them out. Now it's happening again, and Trump wants more bailout money. Socialism for farmers. Most of these farmers voted for Donald Trump, and they shouldn't get a dime of bailout money. These Trump cultists are always railing against socialism, accusing every spending program of being socialism. Now these farmers, who voted for Donald Trump, most of them, want socialism programs for themselves. Screw that.
We don't need to add more reasons why farmers don't make it, said Seth Yentes of North Branch Farm, an organic beef and produce operation in Monroe. Our government needs to stop supporting billionaires and start supporting farmers. The event was led by the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association. MAFGA Executive Director Sarah Alexander said Maine has lost $4 million to purchase food from local farms for schools and for food banks. I talked about this at length when this story broke several weeks ago, but a lot of my work is around resilient local food economies, and I was absolutely devastated when Trump cut off funding for programs that took our tax dollars and used it to buy food from local folks right in our community, small family farms. Take that produce, take that food to the schools, and cook the meals, local, nutritious, healthy, organic meals. fed to America's school children. We need more of those kinds of programs. That is the kind of stuff our tax dollars should be funding. If we have hungry children who need to be fed, and that is an obligation that we have as a society, why not use those taxpayer dollars and support small family farms and give those kids a rich, varied, nutritious diet? And those programs are just like a tiny, tiny little drop in the federal budget. But what a huge impact it had in the lives of small family farms and of hungry school children. Those have all been cut so that more money can go straight into the pockets of Elon Musk. More of our taxpayer money. Our taxpayer money. That is our money. It is meant to serve the public good. And now it is all going to billionaires. Okay, back to the article. Alexander also said the Trump regime is holding up to $12 million worth of contracts that have already been approved by the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service. The cuts to USDA staff in every Maine county have been at least 20% of the workforce, Alexander said, eliciting boos from the crowd. This is not okay. Some funding was frozen, but later released, and other contracts appear to have been paused, but they're not yet officially canceled. But earlier this week, the USDA did cancel a grant program to encourage more climate-friendly farming techniques. God forbid we make our farms more resilient. Maine projects were slated to receive $3 million from the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities program. The Trump administration dubbed it a, quote, Biden-era climate slush fund that spent far too much overhead, although the USDA said some grant recipients may still receive money if enough money is slated to go to farmers. It wasn't a slush fund. And $3 million, I know that seems like a lot to you or me, but when it comes to the federal budget, that's absolutely nothing. And it would have had real substantive impacts in the lives of the people who grow our food.
Regarding all these farmers that are now crying about possibly losing their farms because they voted for Trump, this is why you absolutely should not feel bad for any of these farmers that voted for Trump. Now, the ones that didn't vote, yes, feel sorry for them, go support them, do whatever you need to do. But the ones that voted for Trump, do not feel sorry for them, and let me tell you why. I am a builder, and I've been building shit in Oklahoma City going on like 20 years now, and farmers are not stupid. If you have the ability to manage a farm and understand the weather, the climate, your machinery, the chemistry that goes into your crops, you are not a stupid person. You're just not. And especially when you come from generational farming, you have the ability to look ahead and predict what you need to survive. And so when you have two candidates where you have Kamala Harris on one side giving you a whole fucking list of shit that she's going to do for you and make your life better, and then you have Trump on the other side who can't even come out with a normal sounding sentence, and you still vote for that guy, and you are a farmer, you are either racist or sexist or both. And they're only crying now because now they are being treated exactly how they voted for other people to be treated. Got that? They are being treated how they voted for other minorities, people of color, everybody else, poor people, sick people. That's how they voted for other people to be treated. And now they're the ones being treated that way by losing their livelihood, their homes, their income, their farms. So do not feel sorry for them. This is exactly what they had coming. Quick follow-up as to why exactly would Trump be doing this to farmers anyways, and I'm guessing 99% chance it's because he wants to bankrupt farms so his corporate buddies can come in and do a land grab. Basically what you have been seeing the last few years, major companies buying up a bunch of rental houses and jacking up the price of rents, and it's all going to corporations. It's probably something similar to let these farms go to foreclosure and his corporate buddies be able to come in, swoop them up, and now you've got bigger companies involved in more of our day-to-day food.
I'm sorry, I'm getting angry about it, but with our farmers and with hungry children so that billionaires can get richer, that's something that we should all get angry about. I'm going to read you a quote here. It's from Brooke Rollins, who is the USDA secretary. Keep in mind, she's the same person who said if eggs are so expensive, we should just all start keeping chickens. Wouldn't that be great? Every American can just get chickens. All of the millions, hundreds of millions of people who live in apartments. We shouldn't complain about egg prices being sky high. We should all just start keeping chickens. Speaking as somebody who has kept chickens and ducks for many, many years, that was an unbelievably insensitive and stupid thing to say. So with that in mind, let's listen to what the USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins has to say. The Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities initiative was largely built to advance the Green New scam at the benefit of NGOs, not American farmers. That's patently false. She went on to say the concerns of farmers took a back seat during the Biden administration. Again, outright lie. During my short time as secretary, I have heard directly from our farmers that many of the USDA partnerships are overburdened by red tape, have ambiguous goals, and require complex reporting that pushes farmers into the sidelines. We are correcting these mistakes by what? Taking away the funding and giving it to billionaires? We are redirecting our efforts to set up farmers for an unprecedented era of prosperity. You mean drive them out of business so they have to sell their small family farms to big ag? That's who you want to have unprecedented prosperity. Giant mega corporations, the super rich. I'm sorry, Brooke Rollins, you're full of shit. All right. But Alyssa Adkins of Farthest Field Farm in Freeport said USDA grants like the Smart Climate Program helped her and her partners start to build a farm better able to weather Maine's changing climate. The Climate Smart Commodities Grant was a lifesaver in this respect, Adkins said. It helped with these crucial supplies in our second growing season, and we had been counting on it in our third and beyond, especially as we lost our off-farm income. A lot of America's small family farms, they have to work off-farm in order to keep their farms going, especially as they're really building their business. And yet we're seeing workers losing their jobs all over the place, and we should be aware of how many people are losing income that they needed to keep their farm going so that they could grow food to feed their community.
We want to have as many bees as we can to make honey.
Honeybee farmer Jim Hartman is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times. He has nearly 70 hives here and tries to get about 100 pounds of honey out of each hive every year. Now he's second-guessing his vote in part because he's worried about tariffs. How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options. The cost of equipment has just gone through the roof. With tariffs now, we're not importing equipment to buy anything like that because it just would be cost prohibitive.
How do you feel about paying more for things?
Well, if you find someone who says, I'm happy about paying more for something, you point them out to me. People who already couldn't afford fresh vegetables, who couldn't already afford to put good food on their plate, are the ones that are really going to be hurt by this.
Did you ever think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you were going to lose money?
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
It's more than just the tariffs. For the past 2 years, Jim has been selling honey to local schools and food banks through the U.S. Department of Agriculture programs. But after Trump took office, the USDA cut those programs suddenly as part of the federal government's effort to streamline spending.
For a lot of other local farmers around here, it was a major source of reliable revenue.
Just yesterday, our so-called president made a statement that America will take care of its farmers. How? And help those affected by his ridiculous, poorly managed tariff war, said Steve Sinisi, who runs Old Crow Ranch, a livestock farm in Durham. Funny how taxpayers can bail out large monocrop CAFO corporate farms that already receive subsidies. But as small farmers of America, we have to fight our own government to get the funding already approved by Congress for programs that have been around and used efficiently for decades. This is a really important point here. Congress has already allocated those funds. Trump not paying money that Congress has already allocated, that's illegal. He is violating the separation of powers, usurping the authority of Congress to allocate funds. Later in the program, Sinisi presented Democratic Congresswoman Shelley Pingree with a 5-gallon bucket containing hog manure, although he used a different word than manure. I told Ms. Pingree, when she's ready, I'm ready. The spreaders go to Washington. Pingree, an organic farmer who sits on the House Agriculture Committee, has herself joked about inviting farmers to dump manure on the steps of the U.S. Capitol in response to the changes at the USDA. That's something that French farmers do when they're pissed off about their funding being cut. She laughed about the symbolic gift of the 5-gallon bucket of manure before launching into her own criticism of Trump, his tariffs, DOGE, and the recent cuts. Pingree asked, what's wrong with this administration? To say they believe in family farms, that they believe in the process and what we've got going on here, but then to break these contracts? The other 3 members of Maine's congressional delegation, Democratic Rep. Jared Golden, although he doesn't know how to hold the line and repeatedly votes with Republicans, Republican Senator Susan Collins, who acts like a moderate and that she's unhappy with the things Trump is doing, but then she votes in line with all of his reprehensible policies, and Independent Senator Angus King, have all criticized cuts to the USDA programs in Maine. Cool, Susan Collins. If you are so opposed to what Trump is doing to your state, to the farmers in your state, why do you repeatedly vote in line with him, with what he wants? Why don't you break away and do what's right by your state, by the Constitution? You can say you don't like the funding cuts, but then you vote for them. You voted to approve Brooke Rollins as the USDA secretary. So are you for Mainers or are you a maggot? Are you for your state? Are you for the Constitution? Are you for farmers? Are you for democracy? Because from your voting record, it looks like you're a collaborator with fascism, and you are voting to take away the funding for small farmers in your state. You are voting to undermine democracy and to cost farmers in Maine their jobs. So what's it going to be, Susan Collins? And to all the farmers in Maine and anywhere else, you should be taking your Republican reps to task. They are destroying America's family farms so that billionaires can get rich. That's it. It's as simple as that.
All I can say, all the farmers video I've done, it seems like Maine has been the one that has taken the biggest hit other than Nebraska. And it all screams, we want billionaires to get more money and farmers to suffer. Because I don't really get why or what's the purpose of doing all this? Like, why isn't the president not supporting the farmers? We all know farming is usually like the backbone of many countries. Without food, people are not existing. Or buying food from other states or other countries is just gonna be super expensive, like the imports and exports. It just gives off the balance of trade or balance of payment. If you know these economic things, it's upon now the people to take it into their own hands, into their own jurisdiction, to fight for justice, to fight for their rights. Because when of course you vote for these people, you're making your bed, and inside time you lay on it. And it seems like Maine farmers are in the find out phase. It's gonna be interesting one still. Following up closely on this matter, and I'll be giving updates. Give your thoughts in the comment section.